drop back. Throws to the right. Pulls it in. On his way. He's at the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, and in for the touchdown.
Alright guys, welcome back to JBSR Plays It. So, I'm tied with Mike Glennon. I consider that to be close enough. I went through, I think I would start anyways, at least that's what I learned in the preseason. So I just set it to making myself the instant starter. So hopefully it should let us play this. Glennon actually, I don't want to say he didn't do terrible. The team didn't do terrible. Glennon was just kind of eh. So we're 3-1. It took me 4 games to catch up, but I caught up, so... And just in time for a very important game. But before I get into the game, there are a couple things. Number one, both of them relate to this. I restarted the franchise. Everything's the same. I made myself the same quarterback and everything. I did it for 2 reasons. Number one, because I set the game to 15-minute quarters from the beginning instead of from when I took over as a starter, Glennon benefited from that. He had like 2,000 yards passing by like week 5 just because of how long the quarters were. So he kept getting all the bonuses for throwing for all those yards, even though he was only throwing like 50% of his passes, and I think he had like the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions. But either way, by the time I got up to an 83, he was like an 88. So I realized that I couldn't have it that way or I would screw myself over, and I'd never freaking start. So I just went through and restarted it with that, with regular quarters. I've got it bumped back up into 15-minute quarters, or at least I meant to. Yes, okay. And the more important reason to me is because right when I was going to start going through and simming everything, the tape for Ray Rice came out, and I know it's been beaten to death 1,000 times, but this is my platform where I can at least say my piece and say what my problem is with it. Now, number one, I made him a 0 overall. I zeroed out all his stats, so needless to say, he's not here anymore. And I did that for two reasons. Now, we'll get into Ray Rice in a second, but at the end of the day, we knew what happened on the elevator. It wasn't a surprise that he knocked her out. I was trying not to watch it, but I kept hearing about it because I've discovered ESPN radio on my phone. So I've been hearing about it from Mike and Around the Horn and PTI and all that other stuff. So eventually I caved in and watched it. And it is more disgusting than I ever thought it could be. Not just the fact that he knocked her out, not just the fact that, I don't care what anyone says, she did not lay hands on him per se. She sort of shoved him off to get him the hell away from her. And then when she stepped up to get in his face and yell at him, he sucker punched her. She nailed her head against the railing on her way down. And the disgusting part is he just stood over her with a, come on, bitch, get up face on. You know, like he didn't have any remorse. He didn't care. It was more so, well, great, now I got to carry this back. So that's what's disgusting about it. And I'm glad the league suspended him indefinitely and the Ravens cut him and whatnot. But at the end of the day, and I put this up on my personal Facebook, this is the action the NFL should have taken from the beginning. They got onto the elevator, you saw them arguing, that tape was out, and when they got to the bottom, he was dragging her unconscious body out. He didn't try to defend himself. They came out and admitted that he knocked her out. Like, that was never not a thing that happened. So, he never tried to avoid that, and the NFL suspended him 2 games. Now this tape comes out, and it's sort of a mulligan, and at least Goodell, at least before, admitted that he fucked up. But he still only suspended him for 2 games for that. Beat you like a football player's wife is still a joke that runs around from the O.J. Simpson days. But before he killed her, he used to just beat the shit out of her. Now he killed her. Or didn't, depending on what you want to think. Did they just retire his ass? They might have. So yeah, but at the end of the day, he should have been suspended, maybe not for life, but more than 2 games. Again, the running joke is Josh Gordon smokes weed and gets suspended a year. Ray Rice knocks a bitch out. I'm sorry, but that's what they call it. Knocked her out, and he gets 2 games. Are you kidding me? So, I fucking hate the Ravens right now. I will root against them until the day that every last member of that, I don't want to say the coaching staff, it's really not their responsibility to take care of this stuff. It is, but it isn't, but it falls more so on the upper management, the ownership, and all that. They backed him 100%. The players, I'm not going to fault them. You're supposed to back up your teammates. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what a good teammate does. I'm not going to fault them for being good teammates, especially, you got to remember, this is Ray Lewis's team. He may have retired a couple years ago, but this is still Ray Lewis's team, and this is what he taught them to do, is to have your brother's back. So, of course, they're going to have his back. Ray Lewis, of course, I don't know if you saw the clip of him on ESPN when they asked him about it, but before he even opened his mouth, just the absolute look of disgust on his face when the topic is just brought up tells you everything you need to know. And this is a man who went through a murder trial, and he is disgusted by Ray Rice. So I will root against the Ravens until the day the ownership is wiped out, the entire management is gone. Nothing against John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, the non-quarterback one. Nothing against him and his coaching staff. Yes, they can cut players, but something that big that is up to upper management, the ownership, the GM, and all of them. I also think that Roger Goodell should either be fired or resign, and he won't be. And I understand that he is the most powerful person in the sports world because he is the most powerful man in the most popular sport in the biggest country in the world. And I'm sorry to anyone over in Europe listening to this for whatever reason. Yes, it's real football over there. This isn't football. This is American football. What we call soccer over here is the actual football. I'm not going to get into that argument. Football is the biggest sport in the world. But American football is the biggest sport in the biggest country and therefore carries more weight. anyone from London, let me know in the comments if this is true, but apparently London really wants an NFL team. I don't know if that's actually true. I've never been there. I don't know anyone from London, but apparently that's the thing that's going on. So at the end of the day, Roger Goodell is not going to, but I think he should because he fucked up. And people are already not happy with him because of this power trip he's been on, which I had no problem with him trying to clean up the game, but it's almost like, I don't know if any of you guys watch Scandal and like the way that's run with the presidency. It almost feels like that. There's a lot of cover-ups and there's a lot more politics. Maybe because I was younger, but I don't remember Tagliabue doing this shit. So I'm not going to root for the Ravens until all the ownership is gone. And I do think Goodell should resign. I don't think they're not going to fire him, but I think he should resign. And he's not going to. He's not gonna, but he fucked up. Someone saw that tape. Somebody saw that tape. There is no way that some 2-bit company like TMZ can get their hands on it, and the NFL can't. And there's reports coming out of, the authorities saying that they sent them the tape, and, they hired the ex-head of the FBI to launch an independent investigation to see if they did that, but the NFL hired them to do an independent investigation, so it's not going to be that independent. But someone had to have been able to get to that tape. Goodell even said he wasn't going to TMZ to get the tape. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? TMZ is a bunch of scumbags. Yes, I admit that. They are the worst source of entertainment, if you can even call it that. But at the end of the day, they get the video first because that's what they do. That's what they're good at. I know good is a relative term, but that's what they do is get the sleazy footage, the shit that should never be shown in public, the shit that should never be seen. I am honestly shocked they haven't gotten their hands on the Steve Irwin footage, and I think that's because that was the one thing that I think people actually stuck to, and I think they destroyed the footage instantly. It never had a chance to get leaked. I'm assuming. Well, 10 years from now, TMZ will finally get their hands on it and will be shown otherwise, but that's what they do with TMZ. It's the same thing as any other tabloid. TMZ just happens to be the best at it. Unless it's solving a murder trial, then the National Enquirer, for some reason, everything else in their magazines is garbage, but murder trials, National Enquirer is right on top of it. So, but if TMZ can get their hands on it, and if they do have it, and if they are telling the truth and offer it up to the NFL before they made it public, why wouldn't you take that? I understand you don't want to be associated with them, but at the end of the day, you're doing your due diligence. It's not a reputable source. It's not hard to tell that's Ray Rice in the footage. It's not hard to tell that all that footage lines up. So, and at the end of the day, you shouldn't, the biggest problem is at the end of the day, you shouldn't have needed that footage. He should have been gone. He should have been out for at least 8 games, maybe the entire season. And then when the footage came out, then you kick him out indefinitely. I think that's what people are caught up on, and me too, is that it was only a 2-game suspension beforehand. So, yeah, no, I'm not rooting for the Ravens. I'm not rooting for Goodell. Fuck them. So let's move on to the good stuff. And I'm going to start off with what I think is a very good story that came out. I don't know if you guys heard of him. Devon Still for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'll actually start up the game now. He's been on the practice squad for the Bengals. He's a 4-year player. Usually those aren't the type of people you keep on your practice squad. Usually it's like undrafted rookies or 7th-round picks, stuff like that. Michael Sam, he's getting all that big deal. That's usually the type of people who go on a practice squad. But Devon Still ended up on there. And the reason for that is because for the past 3 months, I believe it is, his 4-year-old daughter has been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and it was 3 months ago, and he's been dealing with that. Now, for those who don't know, pancreatic cancer is a 100% fatality cancer. This is not something you recover from. This is not something that goes into remission. You get it, you're done. And we had a friend of ours. This is the only person with cancer I've ever known. Well, no, that's not true. One of the few. She had it for a couple of years, actually. And it got to the point she was actually on her deathbed and then bounced back and made it another 9 months. And it's agonizing to watch, and it's terrible. And I can only imagine, as someone who has a newborn daughter just over in the other room, your 4-year-old daughter has it. Like, all of that's going on. So the Bengals, his head wasn't in the game for obvious reasons. And I'm going to root for the Bengals, I think. If I'm not rooting for the Ravens, I'm going to root for the Bengals because I think their owner gets a lot of shit for being overly loyal. But at the same time, he's overly loyal. You know, Marvin Lewis would have been fired from any other coaching job in the league. And he's done a not terrible job for him. You know, no playoff win, sure, but he's doing pretty well. You know, but he is loyal. So they kept still on the practice squad so he could keep his insurance. Because you all know that NFL insurance has to cover everything. Just to make sure. So that's number one. That's a nice gesture right there. But then they want to step beyond. And what ended up happening is they started selling his jersey on their website. They have to customize it. He's not a big-time player, so you're not just going to have your jersey up for sale. So they started selling his jersey, and 100% of all proceeds from it go towards the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, I believe, and the cancer research involved with it. And, you know, and I guess not only did it work out well, the Bengals have come out and said that is their best-selling jersey of all time. Of any Bengals player to ever wear a uniform, and Anthony Munoz comes to mind. I don't know how much jerseys were for sale way back in the day like that, you know. But Corey Dillon started his career there. I mean, Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens for that season. You've had some significant players. This isn't like the Arizona Cardinals coming out and saying this back when nobody wanted to play for them. He has the most popular. Ooh, nice touchdown pass. The most popular jersey to ever be sold from the Bengals, which shows that people took this seriously and people cared. So he is now back on the active roster because he started to get back into football. He sort of had time to come to grips with it. Well, as much as you can, I guess. So that's just a nice story. So I'm going to root for the Bengals, I think, to make up for that. So now, week 1 of the NFL is in the books, and week 2 starts tonight. So let's just go over a couple of the games real quick. I'm not an analyst. I don't even have cable. I can't watch any of these games. So I love these curl routes until he fumbles it. You know, that sucks. So let's just go over a couple of games. So Seattle stomps Green Bay in the opener. I think I sort of talked about it in the last episode, but Jesus freaking Christ. Marshawn Lynch, you know, any other NFL running back starts going up in age, and they're like, yeah, you're done. LaDainian Tomlinson, you're going to the Jets. Emmitt Smith, you're going to the Cardinals. Marshawn Lynch, no, we're going to keep you around. We're not giving you a new deal. And damn, did he come out and say otherwise, that no, he should get a new deal. And he is, of course, a Buffalo Bills alumni. We drafted him. He sucked for us. He earned the nickname Beast Mode, but he was only averaging like 3 yards a carry, so he didn't really deserve the nickname. Although the offensive line sucked. You see what happens when he goes to Seattle. So, you know, Seahawks, I didn't pick them to win the Super Bowl because no one ever repeats. That might be happening this year if the first game is any indication, because Green Bay is not a soft team. They are a Super Bowl contender themselves. And Seattle beat them by 20 points. So moving on, I'm going to skip over the obvious one. Atlanta and New Orleans in overtime. Holy shit, what an offensive fight. That's a game that I would have loved to have watched. More than any other game except the one obvious one. But that's a game I would have loved to watch. So that's, you know, Atlanta apparently is back. Apparently it was just a fluke last year. Because, again, New Orleans is the team I picked to go to the Super Bowl. And they kept up with them. So, next game we got, I'm just going by the ESPN schedule. We have Minnesota stomping the Sam Bradford-less. He was open when I threw it. Sam Bradford-less St. Louis Rams. And Matt Castle doing his best Chad Pennington impression, enough to win. Enough to not lose. And sometimes that can be better. C, Buffalo Bills. Okay, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, 30, Pittsburgh beats Cleveland 30-27. Again, a lot of these games, I think the story that no one's really talking about is these are games of halves, where one team will dominate for a half, and then the other team will sort of come back and make the game look closer on the scoreboard than it actually was. And this is one of those cases. I mean, they were calling for Johnny Football by halftime because Hoyer just wasn't getting it done, and he got it done. We didn't see Johnny Football at all, so good for Mike Pettin. Again, spent 1 year and fucking turned the Bills into a defensive powerhouse, so, I'll root for him a little bit. Next we got Philadelphia. Again, another tale of a half. Philadelphia 34, Jacksonville 17. Again, at halftime, it was not that. It was Jacksonville 17-0. So, no, good job, Gus Bradley, for getting at least one solid half out of the laughingstock of the league last year. Again, the score won't reflect it, but I'd call that a pretty good game for the Jaguars to come in, another team with Super Bowl aspirations, and you keep up with them neck and neck. So, good job with them. But Nick Foles sort of coming back down to earth. Not being bad, but just sort of not being ridiculous John Madden numbers. New York Jets beating Oakland in a game that they should have won by a little bit more. It's funny, this game is actually a pair of teams that had GMs that did such terrible fucking jobs that they are just limping through. They limped through last season. They're still kind of limping through this season because now their salary cap was so utterly destroyed that they're still kind of recovering. Geno Smith looking like a different quarterback, so good for New York. I like Rex Ryan. I know I'm not supposed to root for division foes, but I like Rex Ryan. I think it's maybe because I'm in Patriots Nation. Mike Evans, can you hold on to the ball? What is that, 5 drops for you so far? Anyways, next game. The fitting game, considering what I started with. Cincinnati beating Baltimore 23-16. I don't remember a lot about how this game went, necessarily. Oh, good, I passed it to the Oakland reject. That was... This game has some weird, glitchiness to it. But yeah, Cincinnati beats Baltimore. I won't root against any Baltimore players. Joe Flacco putting up some good yardage. I don't know. For some reason, that game just is not... I don't have any recollection of it whatsoever. Moving on. Houston 17, Washington 6. Robert Griffin III is sort of looking like Vince Young right now. One really good season, and then just sort of... And again, the difference is, I think Mike Shanahan might have ended his career by letting him keep playing on that injured knee and destroying his freaking knee, destroying his MCL. He might have, killed his career, and I hope I'm not right. I hope that ends up not being true. I'm not going to root against this guy, but I really hope Shanahan didn't kill his career. I really don't, because that could have been fun to watch, as much as I hate, the Washington racists. Tennessee beating Kansas City in a freaking blowout. Alex Smith gets a big contract and throws 3 picks to show his appreciation. Unlike, and there's another storyline from Houston that I already forgot to mention, J.J. Watt gets a new deal and plays out of his goddamn mind. Playing like he needs a contract. So, sometimes giving him their reward works, and sometimes it backfires. And I still think they overpaid for Alex Smith, but they got a good coach in place that can get the most out of him. Everyone's going to have a bad game. Speaking of bad games, another tale of two halves. Miami 33, New England 10. I picked this game wrong? Okay. Why do I have I thought I had 2 really good wide receivers, and apparently I have 1. I picked for New England to win. I'm like everyone else in the world. I kind of forgot. Okay, I should have thrown it to Jackson. God damn it. Kind of forgot Miami existed. So, Another tale of two halves. Miami came out at halftime. They were losing, and then they come back and just score 23 straight points. I just wanted my completion percentage up. And stun New England in the opener for one of the bigger upsets of the day. So not bad, Miami. New England, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, first time in the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era that they have been in sole possession of last place. Welcome to the last 15 years of my life. I have no sympathy after one game for you. And everyone says Brady had a bad game. His completion percentage was low. He got beat up because his offensive line sucked. But it's not really anything on him. At least not in my mind. He's not going to be the same quarterback throwing for 50-something touchdowns. Not everyone is going to have the longevity of Peyton Manning and, someone like Brett Favre. They're not everyone's going to have that. You get beat up. They're 37. So, you only got a couple more years. Play till you suck. You don't suck yet, Tom, so keep terrorizing my team. Carolina 20, Tampa Bay 14. And here's a funny one. I picked this game right on accident. I entirely meant to pick Tampa Bay, and for some reason I typed in Carolina. But I got it right. Josh McCown. Did you guys see that play? Literally, I think the worst play. I think butt fumble might have been dethroned as the worst play of all time, right there. Except it's a week 1 game. They were losing anyways. San Francisco 28, Dallas 17. Not necessarily a tale of the quarters because it still wasn't that close, but it was 28-0 at halftime, and San Francisco just sort of decided to let Tony Romo come back in. And I'm a Tony Romo defender. I don't think he's nearly as bad as everyone will make him out to be. I don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy. There's obviously a lot of credentials missing for that, but I don't think he's terrible. I think he gets blamed for a lot of shit that isn't his fault in Dallas. And he's got, he just comes off back surgery. He's all fucked up. You'd be fucked up too. I should have done 10-minute quarters because I'm almost at 300 yards passing, and it's just now ending the first. Although I think I only have 1 touchdown, so. San Francisco with a terrible defense because everyone's suspended. But whatever. Another tale of the halves. Denver 31, Indianapolis 24. Indianapolis made that run. What was it, 31-7 at one point? It was not that close. They just made a run at the end, but it wasn't enough. And now for the Monday night games that I got wrong on both of these. I am terrible at picking Monday nights. I think I did that last year. I think I was like 1-19 picking Monday night games or some shit like that. Detroit whoops the Giants 35-14. Jim Caldwell, it's one thing to be a good quarterback or a good coach when you got Peyton Manning at quarterback. I mean, the Colts, I think when Peyton Manning went down, it exposed something that is still holding true right now. The Colts have never actually been that good. Peyton Manning was just amazing and carrying an absolutely terribly mismanaged franchise on his back. So, Jim Caldwell, I don't think is one of the greatest coaches to ever live. I don't think he's terrible, but I didn't really believe in him. And I thought the Giants, I didn't think they'd be terrible. And Eli, once again, just picking up right where he left off last season, unfortunately. My brother is a big Giants fan. It pissed me off. The one football game I've ever been to was Bills versus Giants, and the Giants kicked our asses pretty bad after the half. So, he was a douchebag about it. But I'm not going to root, I don't know. I thought the Giants would be better than that. And then Arizona 18, San Diego 17. Arizona with that last-minute comeback. Story coming out of this now, though, is that John Abraham getting his first documented concussion. I think that's the important part, his first documented concussion. Because he's had memory loss for a while. He's had all the side effects. This has never actually been hey, I have a concussion. So, his career may or may not be over. And that sucks. And I know they'll all say that's part of playing the game, that's a sacrifice they're willing to make. And I understand that, but it's still unfortunate to see it happen. Same thing. This loss with Wes Welker, but I'm surprised he's not contemplating retirement, even with the suspension. But good comeback by Arizona. You know, I picked them to go to the wild card. I just picked San Diego in this game. Jesus Christ. Cameron Jordan. And let's go back to the game that I skipped on purpose. My Buffalo Bills, 23. Chicago, 20 in overtime. Fred Jackson, 34 years old and still kicking everybody's ass. Sweet, merciful Jesus, that stiff arm at the end. Buffalo was actually, I think it was, 17-7 at the half. So, I mean, they kept it up. But this is a game that people were, like, betting their house that Chicago was going to win this one. Like, people would bet their house, and I don't think anyone would have taken that bet. I think it was supposed to be that bad. And, I mean, obviously, I'm going to pick the Bills every week because it's my team. I'm never going to pick against them. I've done that. I did that one time, and they freaking smoked the Patriots, so I'll never do that again. But E.J. Manuel, again, I'm going to keep bringing his name up, pulling his best Chad Pennington impression. And really, and I've been saying this all offseason, he does not have to be Peyton Manning. All he has to be is Chad Pennington, and the Bills can go 10-6. That's all he has to do, is just not fuck up, not screw them over, and he did a pretty good job of that. He had the one pick, but overall, not a terrible game, at least by what the preseason seemed to tell us. You know, Jay Cutler, proving again why I will never root for that guy, is just, once again, just, you know, screwing he's doing his best Tony Romo. I love this route right here. This little out slant. In Madden 25, they could not defend tight ends and they could not defend curls, which is sort of why you see me going with the short passing game. I picked a strong arm quarterback. I don't know why. I like to throw it downfield, but I complete like 1 out of every 45 passes I throw that way. I'm definitely a West Coast quarterback when I play this game. I think it just fit with the scheme well too. But, you know, I'm happy right now. And if the Bills, I hate this fucking slants route sometimes because they just run into each other. I don't think I run this right. But if the Bills win this week, because it's at home against Miami, Bills will have sole possession of first place, regardless of what happens in the New York Jets game. That is amazing. And it's only 2 games in, but that is still amazing. It's amazing the fact that I've already got fucking 373. Every time I try really hard in this game, I end up screwing myself up and, like, just not doing anything. And right now, I'm just nonchalantly, yeah, I'm almost at 400 yards passing before halftime. Yeah, no big deal. I'm gonna tune this back down, I think. I'm going to bring it back down to 10-minute quarters because this is just a little ridiculous. I might have to super sim through half this game. Or, you know, they could actually... I'm not audibling. They're just making... I think I've only run the ball, what, twice? 3 times? You know, I will gladly let Doug Martin run. He's a beast. Here you go, Doug. There's the ball. So, yeah, I'm really... You know, I'm glad. I'm happy for the Bills, obviously. I'm happy for myself. You know, that was a nice little gift, you know, with my daughter being born. First game of the season we win in a game that no one would have picked us in. So that makes me, let's see. I think I was, because I didn't pick the games in time. I would have picked Seattle, but it's easy for me to say that now. But I definitely would have picked Seattle. So I'm 10-5 on the week for picks. So not terrible. Playoff contention possible. You know, I was wrong on New England, Kansas City, the 2 Monday night games, and the hell was the other one I was wrong on? Oh, right, that guy coming up the middle. New England, 2 Monday night, Kansas City. 1, 2. Fuck it, I don't remember. Maybe I was 11-4. I don't know. So now let's get into week 2 for my picks. All right, so opening game, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I'm picking Pittsburgh. I think they'll win the division anyways. I already picked that. And I'm going to pick against Baltimore every week from now on. Plus, I think Baltimore, I don't know, people thought they were going to win the division. What roster were you looking at that you thought Baltimore was going to be in playoff contention? They were 7-9 last year and didn't get better in any way, shape, or form. And people are picking them to go to the playoffs and win a division. I mean, I might switch. I think I'm going to root for Cincinnati. Even though I picked Pittsburgh, I think I'm going to root for Cincinnati. I only didn't pick them because they lost both of their coordinators. Jay Gruden, the head coach of the Redskins, and Mike Zimmer, the head coach of the Vikings. So thought that would be rough on them. But yeah, I'm going to pick Pittsburgh in this one, obviously. Miami at Buffalo, picking Buffalo. Always pick Buffalo. Jacksonville at Washington is actually an interesting game, and I think I'm going to go with the Jaguars on this one because they looked a lot better last week. I could flip a coin on this one. I'm really not confident in that pick because for all I know, RG3 is going to be like, wait, I'm Robert Griffin III and go on a tearing spree. Tennessee at Dallas. I'm going with Tennessee because, I mean, I thought that the Chiefs were going to be worse this year for sure. But, it's weird. Last year I thought the Titans were going to be the team to look out for. And instead, it turns out that this year they're the team to look out for. So I'm going to pick Tennessee in this because I think Dallas is in. And I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I really do. But I will defend Tony Romo because I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's I think he's a good quarterback. I don't, maybe even great, not elite. But yeah, I just 4-12, 3-13. I don't know that. I mean, Philadelphia could win that division at 9-7 now. I really think they can win that division at 9-7, and it won't even be. They could probably win it at fucking 6-10 the way some of these teams looked last week. So that's who I'm going with. Arizona at the Giants. I'm going with Arizona, even though their defense is getting beat up. That was effort right there, Mike Evans. That was effort, and you did not exert it. See, I'm going with Arizona. New England, Minnesota. I'm picking New England. Because, the only way that New England loses this game, and it happens to the best teams, when they start to decline, it happens suddenly, and it happens fast. So, unless this is the year that New England ends their dominance, drops down to 6-10, and is done with, I'm going to pick them to not lose 2 games in a row. I will never pick them to lose 2 games in a row. And I hate that when they lose right before they play the Bills, because I have to make that pick knowing that I'm going to be wrong. New Orleans at Cleveland. I'm going with New Orleans. I think they'll bounce back. I don't think they're a terrible team. I think they played a really good team that no one thought was going to be that good. And Cleveland did look better in the second half last week, but being competitive with Pittsburgh, who I think could be a 9-7 team and win that division, is a lot different than hanging with the team I picked to go to the Super Bowl, and I still I think they'll at least be in the conference championship. Atlanta at Cincinnati. What else is on the schedule? Because Atlanta at Cincinnati. That might be game of the week right there. That's wow. It's actually a tough one. I'm gonna go with Cincinnati though. I'm not confident in that whatsoever. But I'm gonna go with Cincinnati because I'm just gonna go with my gut. It says Cincinnati. It says Devon Still. It says I like that franchise. I'm gonna go for them. Detroit at Carolina. Home at Carolina. I'm going with Detroit because either Derek Anderson will be the starting quarterback and remind us all why Cleveland cut him, or Cam Newton will be starting, still injured, with Ndamukong Suh on the other defensive line. So I'm confident in the Lions' chances either way, so I'm going to go with the Lions there. Plus that off Matthew Stafford, and just Carolina has a decent, and again, Carolina just doesn't have any wide receivers. That's their biggest problem, is they don't have any wide receivers. I understand the need to cut Steve Smith, but I don't know, why you get one rookie, and that's what you're betting on when rookie wide receivers are hit and miss. More than I think any other position in the league. I think wide receivers are the one Look at the Detroit Lions. They draft, 5 in the first round? Roy Williams had a semi-decent career for a little bit, but they trade him to Dallas. They nailed it with Calvin Johnson. Mike Williams is a bust, but had, 1 or 2 good seasons. Oh, you son of a bitch. 1 or 2 good seasons with Seattle before they got rid of him. So just, they just did not have any luck. So I don't know. I think I would have kept Steve Smith for at least another year. I don't know their cap situation. St. Louis at Tampa Bay. I'm going Tampa Bay. St. Louis, I think, a couple years ago, they were so terrible. I used to have a whiteboard set up. I'm such a football nerd, and I'm sorry. I used to have a whiteboard set up in my room, and if you find, I will make a note right here. What's the timestamp on this? 38 minutes. I will pull up a picture of me, and you can actually see it in the background. And I used to keep track of all the standings. And at one point, I don't remember what year it was, the Rams were so terrible. Well, there you go, Bennett. There's your second touchdown pass, but I killed you. Sorry. But the Rams were so terrible, I put them down as the 2000. I wrote down on them 2008 Detroit Lions, because they were 0-10 at one point. So it looks like it might be another one of those years. I'm sorry. I was trying to support Sam Bradford. I don't think he's got much time left in St. Louis. I don't think his career is over by any means. I think his career in St. Louis is over. So I'm going with Tampa Bay because they're on their third string quarterback. As good as that, they lost Chris Long on defense too, so they're kicking themselves for letting Michael Sam go right now, ain't they? So, oh Jesus, fuck! I didn't even see that blitz. Well, whatever, punt it. Seattle at San Diego. I don't want to put San Diego in an 0-2 hole, but I can't pick against Seattle. I don't think San Diego's the team to freaking stop them. I'm sorry, San Diego. I still think there's a playoff run in you, but I think you just got a hole to work yourself out of. And once you're 4-2, I don't know what your schedule is. No one will care. Houston at Oakland. I'm going with Houston. I don't see myself picking Oakland anytime for any reason. New York Jets at Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay starts 0-2 either, and it's at home. It's their home opener. I don't think they come out and lose to the Jets. I think the Jets are going to, they're good enough to make a playoff run, because Rex Ryan is still their head coach, and you can say what you want about him. You can dislike how boisterous he is and everything, but at the end of the day, he's a good coach, and he knows how to coach a defense. So I think they'll give him a tough game, but I think Green Bay takes it. Kansas City at Denver, it's not even close. I'm taking Denver. I'm not afraid to put Kansas City in 0-2 hole. They figured out my curl routes. What do I do now? Chicago at San Francisco. At San Fran. Is this the opening of the new stadium? I'm going with San Francisco. I'm going San Fran. I don't think they're a title contender this year, but I don't think Chicago is either. And in the Monday night game, Philly at Indianapolis, I'm taking Philly, so you're welcome, Colts fans. They'll win. We're still too early in the season. We're not going to learn anything significant about any of these teams this week, barring any injuries, which that happened a lot last week. There are a lot of players who got hurt real bad. Jadeveon Clowney is out for the year. Was that the passing record? I'm getting it anyways. I don't really care. Chris Long's out 8 to 10 weeks. And on top of that, the Rams lost their backup quarterback. So now they're just really in one hell of a predicament. We might see the TJ Yates show coming again. So a lot of injuries last week. A lot of performances by players that pretty damn good. You know, again, I hope EJ Manuel plays mistake-free football, and I'll be happy with that. I'd like him to open it up a little bit more, because that's a little... I mean, conservative enough to win against a struggling Bears team, but when the Patriots roll into town, you're going to have to do something a little more than that. So, I don't know. All in all, I think last week was a pretty good week of football. It was exciting. Again, I didn't watch it, but there were... If I could figure out how to watch the NFL, like stream it somewhere, I would gladly watch it. I miss NFL Red Zone. It sounded like that would have been one hell of a week to have it. So, you know, but it's shaping up. There could be some good games on this too. Not only with good teams meeting up, you know, Atlanta and Cincinnati, two teams now with, you know, in the playoff hunt. I know after one game it's weird to say, oh, they're in the playoff hunt. But they're in the playoff hunt now because people are giving them a chance. And they won division games last week. Mike Evans, when you catch it, you're a beast. I'm still glad we took Sammy Watkins. So, yeah, and then bad games, you know, bad teams, or at least teams that didn't do very good last week. St. Louis and Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay should have it. But some of the shit they did last week, do you have faith in them? Ooh, that was an ill-advised throw. Anyway, I think my completion percentage is still up at like 66%, so that's cool. So it's going to be an exciting week of football. Now, the problem I'm having is this went on way too long. It's still going. Eben Britton is starting for me. Jesus Christ, Tampa Bay, how terrible is this offensive line? Tempo, chew clock. We're just going to run out the clock. We're up 69-10 with 2.5 minutes to go. See if we can get some exciting plays going here. I am a strong arm quarterback. Still averaging 10 yards per attempt. That's not bad. I'll take that. I'll take not throwing another pass for this game, too, and just letting Doug Martin get fucking 300 yards. I think he's already at 100, right? Dude, that's got to suck, rushing that well. 69, okay. Thought he had more. What? I don't understand if I'm trying to run out the clock while you're having me pass it. What else is exciting going on in the NFL? Or in sports in general? I pay attention to sports. Derek Jeter retiring. I don't care. I don't like the Yankees. I don't pay much attention to baseball. I root for the Rays. They're terrible. So I stopped paying attention to baseball already. Basketball. I'm rooting for LeBron James. I didn't stop rooting for him when he went to Miami. I can say that now. I was, you know, I thought it would be cool to see him win 5 straight championships. It's weird in basketball. People who are just general sports fans, but not necessarily dedicated to one sport, I don't think they realize parity doesn't exist in every sport like it does in the NFL. I think I checked it one time. Since the mid-'80s, you've had the Pistons, Lakers, Celtics, Bulls, Heat, Mavericks. I think the Rockets actually... Ooh, shit. Rockets had a couple... So, yeah, wait. Celtics, Lakers, Pistons, Spurs, Heat, Bulls. Like, I want to say since the mid-'80s, you've only had, I think, 6 or 7 NBA champions. And, you know, the only parity was that one year that Dallas won it. And that wasn't even parity. That was them... I don't know what the hell was going on with that linebacker up on top of the pile. That was just Dallas finally getting it done. But yeah, there is no parity in the NBA. So having a team rattle off 5 straight championships. In the NFL, that's like you're cheating and giving yourself an all-99 team on Madden. In the NBA, that's not even the record. Didn't the Celtics rattle off like 9 straight championships? I mean, if you go back in the day in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns won, I think, they were in 10 straight championship games and won 9 of them or something ridiculous. But again, that was in the 30s? That doesn't really count. I just gave Lewis Murphy a touchdown pass. What the fuck is wrong with me? You get a touchdown pass. Let's... Oh, I can't yet. So yeah, there's no parity. You know, there's some parity in baseball. I thought there wasn't. There is. There's no parity in basketball. It's just one team eventually gets good and keeps going. And then the parity is in the playoffs. Mostly in the Eastern Conference because it is fucking terrible. And you have teams under 500. Like, the Seahawks went 7-9 and won the division and people lost their goddamn minds. In the NBA, if you finish 500 in the East, you get like a fucking first round bye. Or some shit like that. Okay, Mike Evans, you need to calm the fuck down. Or don't. I don't really care. You don't have to. Buccaneers. Are you my starting tight end? You had 6 for 114 and 2 touchdowns, and then I killed you. Are you my... You were a beast in the preseason. I'm sure you saw... I'm pretty sure it was him in the montage where I stopped the fast forward just to show that one... Was that 92-yard fucking touchdown pass that wasn't supposed to be that? I am apparently just giving the ball to everybody. I'm having a Brett Favre kind of day. Or is that Peyton Manning does that too? But yeah, there's no parity in basketball really. There's teams sort of come and go in playoff contention, but when you get the true championship material, it is unlike any other sport. It revolves around one or two big players, and that's, you know, LeBron James. No, the Heat won't rattle off 5 straight championships, and they lost this year to the Spurs, and good for the Spurs, the most underrated dynasty of all time in any sport. But, you know, good for the Spurs and getting their championship. I don't know if they got one more left in them. I'd like for Tim Duncan to go, hey, fuck you, Kobe. But, you know, there's not really parity in the... Oh, wait, I missed the first 4 games. I'm not afraid of this. This isn't even to get me first in the league. You know, baseball's got slight parity. Hockey is parity. If you want parity in sports... Who the fuck did I just pass it to? Who are you? Rainey, okay. If you want parity, watch hockey, because I stopped watching hockey after the lockout, and that's entirely because it came back, and the rosters apparently just got completely jumbled. Like, apparently, it didn't matter what team you were on before. Everyone was free game. Everybody was a free agent. It didn't matter. That tight end there, Stephen Jenkins, I gave him such a good preseason. He went up 4 points in his attributes. And then I throw it an interception. Okay. I am now responsible for almost all of the scoring in this game. You know what? 8 picks to 1 interception ain't bad in the grand scheme of things. Safarian Jenkins. Yeah, I think he's not in the real world, but because of the way Madden works. Ooh, that was a bit bad. I threw it anyways. I just want to get him some catches. Oh, good. I killed him, too. I'm just trying to help you guys out. In the real world, I think he's actually, if not the starter, then like the number 2 tight end on the Bucks. But in the game, he's the number 3. I got him good enough. I think I actually got him back up the depth chart. But the problem is I made Myers good, too, so I think they sort of stayed the same. But I know he went from a 72 to a 75 on here. But yeah, if you want parity, watch the NHL. You know, the good teams are going to stay good. Like, some good teams will stay good for a while. The Bruins have been good for a little while, but they sucked for the longest time. Penguins have been good basically ever since Sidney Crosby came into town. The Lightning were good and then sucked again, and then it's sort of been a back and forth. And I have to pass this to my fucking tackle. Are you kidding? I'm going to give it to the fullback. I don't want to give it to any... Oh, you're wide open, Myers. My 10.0 yards per attempt is going down. Oh, noes. Oh, you're fine. Keep him in. So, I don't know. Sometimes I want to get back into the NHL, but at the same time, it's tough for me to keep track. Okay. I regret giving you a touchdown pass now. You just ruined a third down conversion because you're an idiot. Okay. Oh, that's something I should probably talk about. The Buffalo Bills have a new owner. That was the other big important thing I meant to talk about. I am excited because the Sabres are my favorite NHL team, and that's entirely because they play in Buffalo, and the Bills have been my favorite team since I can remember what football was. I also have rooted for other teams at various points. I was an Avalanche fan at one point. It's weird. With hockey, I was very much so I'll root for whoever the hell I feel like at the moment. Good job, Lane. Good job. Good job, Shane. I did that. Oh no, they're making a comeback, guys. But Sabres have consistently been one of my favorite NHL teams. And it's nice that the new owners are someone who are going to try, keyword try, to keep the team in Buffalo. There's no guarantees that they will stay in Buffalo. It is a small market. They will do everything in their powers to keep them there. I don't know if a new stadium will actually happen. Well, that was a fun little route there. But they will try to keep them in Buffalo. I didn't want Donald Trump in charge. The Bills probably would have gotten a freaking Super Bowl win in the next 5 to 10 years. And then would have Jerry Jones it, and we'd be going 8-8 for 25 years. Not really a big fan of that either. And John Bon Jovi, I don't want the team. I'm not as totally against the Bills going to Toronto as much as other people are, and even as much as I will pretend to be just to piss off Eric, only because Eric trolls me with that. But as much as I thought John Bon Jovi would have been a cool owner, in retrospect, the team buying them owned the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's not very good company. At least with the Sabres, they're up and down. They'll be the number one team in the NHL. Not win the Stanley Cup, of course. But they'll be the number one team in the NHL, and then they will be the worst. I can deal with that because at least there's playoffs in between and there's hope. So that's better company to keep than anything Toronto has done in sports in the last ever. How are you not going to cover the guy who's already got fucking 250 yards on the day? So I'm glad they got a new owner. I'm glad that's settled. I'm glad there's going to be no, assuming controversy taped on. If Donald Trump had won that bid, that team wouldn't have actually been sold until... Okay, Doug Martin is not a receiving back. I don't have CJ Spiller in this franchise. I can't just do that. If it was Donald Trump in charge, that would have gone through so much political bullshit that the team might never have been sold. Okay, Doug Martin, you may not be CJ Spiller, but once you catch the ball, you're still dangerous. Because, I need more touchdown passes. All right, what are you... I know what play I'm running. Let's just... Last play of the game. Just whale it downfield. It's going to be picked off. But that would have been cool, huh? So that's the end of the game. There's an hour of this fucking episode. Drew Brees still a beast in that, but compared to me, he's 10 touchdowns. When the hell did I get 10? I have no recollection of this. Well, whatever. I just got everybody Offensive Player of the Week. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Way Too Much Rambling. The next episode that goes up on Tuesday, I'm going to record these all, I think, like the morning before. So this is Thursday morning. You're literally seeing this. It's almost 8 o'clock, so what? 9 hours after I finished recording this. So, 10 hours. I put it up at 6, not 5. So, I'm going to... The Tuesday episode, number 1, I'm going to go do this now before I forget. And I will change this down to 10-minute quarters. Because I think even then, I still would have thrown for 500 yards, and that's more than enough. Excuse me. But anyways, next time I will go over week 1. I think what I'll do is the Tuesday episode, I'll do week 1 reviews, and then the Thursday episode, I'll actually do my picks. Just sort of let the week develop. Because I know something's going to happen. Someone's going to get suspended or injured or something by the time freaking tonight's game happens. And I'm going to look like an idiot and be like, oh, how did you pick this team when, this guy was out? It's because I didn't know. It's because I did not know. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Although, let's be honest, if you watch this video all the way to the end and you're hearing me say this right now, you deserve the like. But, anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.